taking a critical look at the gaming news of the week. This is Augmented Reality.
You are watching my favorite channel.
I've not heard of them.
The Triple S League. Enjoy, guys.
Could there be a more poignant picture of what's wrong with modern corporations who want to be politically and socially invested and appeal to special interest groups instead of actually making good products? Here, let's fight racism by engaging actively in racism. That's what you're looking at right here on the screen. This is Blizzard Entertainment's diversity space method for making sure they've got enough diversity in their characters that they create for their games. And let's forget about actually making quality games. Let's forget about actually making interesting characters. Let's forget about the people who are actually giving us money to actually buy quality products. Let's forget about the quality of life of our employees. This is what's important. They spent 6 years on this. 6 years developing this tool, and it has been universally panned. Like, there are rare occasions where, like, everyone from left to right, all across the political spectrum, agree on stuff. It doesn't happen often. This is one of those miracle moments that has united. I just gave Saib all kinds of crap for bumping his microphone, and I just whacked my desk. Sorry about that. This is one of those golden moments where everyone across the political spectrum is united in telling Blizzard that this is shit. Anyway, welcome.
Trauma says in the comments r/cringetopia.
Absolutely. Welcome to Augmented Reality. You'll notice that, from the top, it kind of looks like the diagram on the left here kind of looks like a garbage can in one of those old video games where they had limited polygons, so all the circle stuff is actually angular. It looks like you're looking down into a garbage can, because that's where it belongs. Welcome to Augmented Reality. As I said, your source for news, leaks, insights, and poignant social criticism about games and the gaming industry, as is the case with this particular topic. My name is Ash. I am here with Moontag, whose voice you just heard, and Saib is also there somewhere, floating in the
Hello.
ether. And we have our live audience on Discord. If you want to be part of the live audience and talk to us while we are recording these live on Tuesday nights, you can do that by joining our Discord and Guilded servers. Find the links to those in the description below. And if you are listening, to the post-produced podcast on our YouTube channel or any of the audio platforms that this goes out to, we welcome you as well. Please slam the like buttons and follow buttons and all the things you can find. And also check out our main channel, the Triple S League on YouTube, where we have lots of game guides, reviews, comedy stuff, and lots of other stuff. And, all gaming related. So, and we have great communities on Guilded and Discord. Okay, I think I've about covered it. So let's talk about this thing, shall we? So, on May 12th...
We should mention that we're talking about this instead of some of the other interesting news bits that have come out today, which I'll mention now just for the sake of, piquing your interest, because we might end up referencing them later on. One is, by the way, the whole UFO thing is out essentially today in the United States Congress.
Yeah,
being live streamed.
This is with everything. I mean, I heard there's like a baby formula shortage or something.
Yeah,
but that's. I mean, let's forget about that. Like UFOs.
Yeah,
this is what's important, right?
Important stuff. Well, I mean, some of these UFOs, so there's new footage being put out. You'll see some of it today. If you see my smiling, winking face in one of the windows, that's just a coincidence. Don't. That's absolutely a coincidence. Don't worry about it. And then also today, Netflix just fired 150 people and
oh, really?
Canceled a whole bunch of shows that most people would call somewhat not something that everybody could just sit around and happily watch and go, that was some great entertainment. Yeah, so they canceled a whole bunch of that, and they're putting out stuff they're saying that they're gonna do it, and they seem to be following through with what they're doing. So interesting. Kudos to them. But yeah, now and then also there's this hilarious trial going on, which if you're watching people watch it, that's the way I would have advised to watch it. If you're just watching it like just the straight up live stream, no commentary by anybody else, it's kind of sad, right? But it's hilarious if you're watching it with like a ton of other people or a streamer commenting on it. Then suddenly it gets really funny.
You're talking about the Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing.
Yeah. So those stories aside, we might reference some of them. Feel free to add comments, give us your opinion on those, because they are sort of important things, and we'd love to get to know like more stuff, right?
Well,
so yeah, interesting, fun.
We had an interesting discussion right before we started on the podcast, where Moon was explaining why the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial is actually important and why I should care about it. And so yeah, that was very interesting, because I hadn't looked at it like that before, because I was just kind of like, oh, rich people and rich people problems, but it has more far-reaching implications than that. So yeah, that's the kind of conversation that you could be a part of if you join our Discord and Guilded servers and join us for the live recording of this podcast. Getting back to our first story. I don't want to call it our top story, because I hate covering this crap, but whatever. We have to talk about this because this is a disaster, and not only is it a point and laugh at Blizzard kind of thing, this just really highlights a lot of the problems with Blizzard, with corporations, corporate virtue signaling, and just, I don't know. I feel like this points to just a huge cultural disconnect between the elites of our society, the rich people who run these corporations, and the average everyday people, some of whom work for these corporations and are also disgusted by this, like I said, across the political spectrum. So you have some thoughts, and then I'll just kind of read this article and summarize what's been going on with this. But yeah, go ahead. I thought one of you was going to speak.
For only some of you, and especially not you.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, let me just read this, and then we'll rip it apart. So, on May 12th, Activision Blizzard Newsroom published a blog post titled "King's Diversity Space Tool: A Leap Forward for Inclusion in Gaming," which already makes me want to puke, just that title. It explained that King, the Candy Crush developer acquired by Activision Blizzard in 2016, I didn't even put this connection together, but like, King is famous for Candy Crush, and they're the ones developing this diversity space tool. I mean, do they have
they have so much time left over now, since they basically made a thing that sustains itself.
Yeah, and as we know, the candies that you're crushing, they contain so many examples of diversity. They were the right
of racism.
Yeah, they were the right choice for this, for sure. Anyway, whatever. So this software, called the Diversity Space Tool, was demonstrated with radar graphs showing breakdowns of attributes of characters from Overwatch, in particular Anna, who was apparently given scores of 7 out of 10 for culture, race, and age, but 0 for body type and sexual orientation. Okay. So what we've got going on here is literally assigning numbers and ranks to people's race, culture, orientations, gender, and
denoting
body
which
types.
Of those are denoting which of those are more important and better than the other ones, because that's not the pure and most simplified definition of racism you could possibly get. Oh wait,
yeah, it's disgusting.
I'm wrong. That is the actual, literal, purest definition of racism there is. And hating somebody, or not necessarily hating somebody, but downranking someone based off of certain immutable characteristics. And again, for those of you who listen to the Maximum News Show, I did go into it a
Yeah.
lot. I'm
Apparently
not going to
you
repeat
raged.
any of the I'm not going to repeat any of the direct rants that I made there, because please go listen to that show.
Maximum News right here on Triple S Podcasts on the YouTube
Yeah.
channel. It's not up on the audio platforms yet. We are working to get it to that point where I can put those up on the audio platforms. However, I do need to sleep at least a couple hours a night, so unfortunately that hasn't happened yet. But you're absolutely right. So if we just look at this example, so this character Anna is Arab. That's her race, and then Egyptian culture, and both of those are given a rank of 7. Now, the way these ranks work is the higher the rank, the more it deviates from the typical, the stereotypical video game protagonist archetype, which is, of course, straight, white, male, cisgendered, able-bodied, and all of that.
Like,
so this is part,
like Guts, like Guts from Berserker. He's just fits that entirely. Oh wait, no, he doesn't. He doesn't fit almost any of those categories actually.
Well,
in fact, all of those, he has a significant difference that's notable in the series. Yet if I was just drawing this from an outside perspective, he might get 1 point for like race, maybe, and that's a big maybe. So this is absolutely terrible.
Well, I see a few problems with it. One, by defining all of these things, or by defining diversity as how much it deviates from the norm, you are, by the virtue of the fact that you're doing that, you are reinforcing that norm.
Yeah.
Secondly, how do you rank a race on a scale like this? If Arab is a 7, as we see on this graphic here, okay, what's number 6? What's number 5? What's number 9? And how do you decide? I thought all races were created equal. At least that's what I believe in. But apparently Blizzard doesn't.
A lot of people don't. I don't know why people think that focusing on more, like, even when you
focus on these attributes is going to make people.
Like, there's nothing wrong with celebrating your difference and your celebrating the things that you can be that is different. That's clearly a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
But when you start to judge other people based off of that, that's where the problem is. We have no problem. We actually have. I would say that for the people that we've had working with us on this channel for the past few years, we have more diversity than most people have in certain in the places where these people often scream the most about this kind of stuff. Big gigantic offices in downtown New York, that kind of thing. We have probably way more diversity than they do. So diversity is not a bad thing. It's when you start scoring people on their diversity, saying, "Oh, you get a gold ribbon because you're just born better. You don't get a reward because you were born bad." That's what we're upset about. That's what we're annoyed about. That's what is egregiously wrong with this, is that they are valuing people based off of things that they can't change.
It's literally a judgment of how acceptable a character is based on how much they deviate from some arbitrary standard. And that's just disgusting. We've got facial features and beauty on here. Can't have beautiful character. They just spell it out here. They're just saying the quiet part out loud. They're not even hiding it anymore. You can't have a beautiful character, or a traditionally beautiful character. You look at her, she scores a 1 on that because she is slightly aged.
So they're saying, oh, well, it's because she's not young and beautiful. That's why she gets the 1 point. If she was old and hideous and ugly, she'd get a 10. And I'd like to remind everybody about a game that featured a whole bunch of people who would score really high on a lot of these. It was called Lawbreakers. It had some horrendously ugly, disfigured people who were definitely not what you would call stereotypical people that people wanted to play as or look at or even be in the same generalized vicinity of. They were nasty, gross, disgusting, and not stylized in the way of like, this is a horror game. Yeah, it was a prison game, but people didn't click with the characters, despite the fact that the gameplay was pretty solid. The general characters, the general experience, the general like thing that was being offered as far as the connection with the players and the NPCs and the player characters within the game was, oh my god, this is gross. That was the thing. And congratulations, to the people who created that. And now the people who created this, do you really think this is what people want? Like, okay, so diversity. Well, here's a noble idea. I brought this up on the show on the weekend. Why don't these companies start investing in the ability for players to start creating their own characters and bringing their own characters into the story of these games, giving the players the largest tool for player creation ever devised. You could create somebody who's as small as a raccoon, or as big as a gigantic roadhog, I think is the character from the game is called. This gigantically fat monstrosity. It's like, yeah, how about you guys do that? No, you don't want to do that? Oh, instead you want to invest in telling people what they think should be good because you came up with this new list. That's what's going on. You a bunch of people in offices with some fancy degrees from, that represents 13% of the population in any given country go to college. So what are these people doing representing the majority? They're not. They're representing a very small minority. Again, how about you guys give the power to the players? How about you can't create a tool like that, for this game. All right, fine. How about instead of creating this list, you send a letter to every player who plays and says, describe your favorite character, come up with a character creation story. Here's a bunch of like art assets and baseline tools for you to mix and match on this website, and you can kind of come up with a generalized character idea, and you can then write the story and submit that, and we'll take the top 30 or 40 best ones, and we'll start to spin those into characters. Hey, maybe that'll
backfire. That'll backfire so fast though, because it won't fit. It won't fit their preconceived notions about.
But it would, if you allowed a public vote on it, then it would get pretty clear pretty quickly what was going on.
Yeah, sure, and they'll turn around and call their community racist. That's what they'll do.
Well, no, I think you'll end up getting like Guts and Iron Man and stuff like that. But you obviously have to weed out those ones.
What I'm saying is, like, your player base might skew in certain directions, especially depending on the game.
Well, again, they're skewing the characters in certain directions with these tools.
If a company wants to go that way about actually giving power to their community when they're coming up with their roster of characters, fine, they can do that. Sometimes you do just create a preset set of characters like they have with Overwatch. I don't think that's a problem. The problem is that they're trying to numerically rate all of these characteristics, and there's other things you could add, and there's some you could take away, or some that people maybe don't think should be on here, and like it's they're trying to make this some kind of a scientific thing instead of just making good characters. Why do I love Lara Croft from the new Tomb Raider games? Is it because she checks some diversity boxes? Well, actually, she would rate very poorly on this, because I'm pretty sure she's just a straight white female. That was in quotes. I'm being sarcastic. No, I love Lara Croft. It has nothing to do with the fact that she's it does have to do with the fact that she's a female protagonist, but I like her because she is an interesting, well-rounded, no pun intended, well-developed character. Oh, wow. Everything I'm saying sounds wrong. When I'm talking about Lara Croft being well-rounded. But you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. She's a good character, okay? She wasn't just eye candy. The relationships she has with other characters were built very well. The sad thing about all of this is it's not actually measuring diversity anyway.
Because it's
just measuring
version of
if you wanted to truly measure diversity, your chart would have to reflect your distribution of the number of different types of people on each of these scales that you have. Instead, all it's doing is measuring deviation from the presumed norm, which again, I'll reemphasize, only serves to reinforce that stereotypical norm. So, shot yourself in the foot much? I'm gonna give Moon the final word on this topic.
Please stop. Please just make games. Stop with this nonsense. Stop it.
Yeah, make good characters. You can have your character form just a gigantic polygon on this spider graph, and they can just be a terrible character. You notice personality's not on here, or morality, or
hobbies.
What is the person interested in?
Skills.
What do they think about things? Do they have good relationships with people, or are they kind of antisocial? The kind of stuff
Does it matter if you're in a battle royale?
Well, I suppose not, but they're, they want us to care that they want us to care about Diva's sexual orientation, but, I'm more interested in her opinions on the issues of the day if we're going to dive deeper into the character. One final point on this, some Blizzard employees have spoken out and pointed out that, they didn't actually use this when developing the characters for Overwatch 2 or Overwatch or anything.
But I doubt that, because the way that they talked about having sent it around to, and this is another thing. I think it was Asmongold made this point. They said, we sent it around to all the departments, and all the departments came back with glowing reviews saying that it was the most wonderful tool they'd ever had.
They said that specifically for, where did they put that? Glowing, where's that word in here?
Glowing review. Yes, you know why they said that? You know why all the departments said that? Because if they didn't say that, they would be fired. They would be taken out into the barn and
you're right. The Overwatch 2. So the initial post from Blizzard said the Overwatch 2 team at Blizzard has also had a chance to experiment with the tool with equally enthusiastic first impressions. That's what Blizzard said. But then you have Overwatch character artist Melissa Kelly, who said, God, I swear our own company tries so hard to slaughter any goodwill the actual devs who make the game have built. And Overwatch doesn't even use this creepy dystopian chart. Our writers have eyes, the artists have eyes, producers, directors, etc. As far as I know, also, we all have eyes. And then she was fired for, not being diverse enough on the physical ability scale. Is that... as you see Anna here, she scores a 4 on a physical ability scale because she only has one eye. So, I mean, how big it is... Now, I'm kidding, of course. That last part was a joke. Everything after the quote from Melissa Kelly was me being snarky and clever with my humor, as always. Anyway, enough of this garbage. So, you are listening to the Augmented Reality Podcast, where you get the raw, the uncut... That's a lie. I edited that previous segment because it got a little spicy, and we just, we have to play the YouTube game a little bit. Unfortunately, we hate having to do it, but we have to. Sadly. By the way, for those of you out there who are our supporters, if you hate Patreon, or if you are not a supporter because you don't like Patreon, we've got a new option coming this week. Probably starting, actually, it might be up and active by the time this podcast goes live on Wednesday. And that is Guilded subscriptions. On our Guilded server, Guilded has a built-in option with a, Patreon-like support feature. And we have had requests from people on our Discord server who chose not to boost us on Discord anymore because they didn't want to support Discord's authoritarian ways. and they asked us to set this up on Guilded, and so we have. And so that's going to be, if it's not live, if it's not active by the time this podcast goes live on Wednesday, it will be active very soon. So this week sometime, and I'll announce it when it is. So we just want to give you another option for those of you who want to offer your support, but don't necessarily want to support Patreon or certain other platforms. There's another option for you. So we've talked about that for so long that I can't even remember what else we were going to talk about. Oh, right. So Konami and Silent Hill. Saib, you had some things you wanted to talk about with regard to this.
Yeah, so we
Konami's Silent Hill plans. This headline from Video Games Chronicle could include a remake, full sequel, and episodic stories. Bloober Team is apparently working on a revival of the horror franchise. Now, I'm not sure if this has been 100% confirmed.
No, it is
Bloober
not.
Team has definitely not, but this article says Bloober Team is one developer understood to be working on a revival of the horror franchise, but I think this is still in rumor state.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Again, we talked a lot about this stuff on the Maximum News show. We covered extensively the rumors around this. The thing that is new is that that there's rumored to be a remake in process. That's
Okay.
the thing that's more or less new. Everything else about them, a new game, some stuff being done, things being worked on. It's not directly, Konami is overseeing most of the stuff. They're not directly involved, so that is actually a point of hope for this series, because Konami has completely fallen apart as far as a studio that makes actual content. They have been making pachinko machines and harvesting the tears of the dead and dying for the last few years. I'm being facetious, obviously. I need to point that out. So they've been in talks to do this, but the rumors about a remake, like remaking the original series, not just like doing a remaster or something like that, but actually rewriting parts of the story and changing things. I have a fair number of contacts over there, and it is currently believed this is an opinion by a lot of people, that Konami is seeking to essentially erase Kojima's influence on the games that he loved so dearly, and that they are wishing to reboot and remake the series, removing things that were definitely his design and doing everything new, whilst at the same time pissing away at Kojima, because they hate him that much that instead of continuing a very successful series that has probably the best amount of success you could possibly get in that franchise, and instead of carrying on the story, the series, carrying on the story and the series, what they're doing is they're laying the groundwork to remove everything that Kojima had influence on. That is really messed up. That is really messed up. You must have so much hate in your heart for an individual that is already cut off from everything that they created, that you'd be willing to roll the dice on restarting everything just to see his name removed from any form of credit. Wow. That's low. If it's true, it's an opinion by a couple people that I contacted. It's been an opinion that they've had for a while. This is not based off of new information. This is what they've believed for a very long time. And people believe that the last Metal Gear Solid game, which was a zombie survival game, which was absolutely atrociously bad, was made that bad on purpose to sully the name of Metal Gear so that people would walk away from the series and curse the creator's name, even though the creator had nothing to do with that.
Wow.
That is what and that particular opinion is actually pretty common. There's a couple of there's a couple of videos that have been around for a very long time in public places of Kojima and a lot of his loyal friends who left with him from Konami and joined his new studio. A lot of them reacting to that game, playing the game live and reacting to it and saying things like, they did this to ruin his reputation. They did this to ruin the thing that he loved most at the former studio, which was his work. They did this to destroy his work, to make people who are not educated on what's going on and what was happening, to make them go, wow, he's just a terrible sellout. And I tend to agree with him. I think that was the purpose. I don't think Konami ever had, my humble opinion, I don't think Konami ever had a desire to release a successful game on that. I think they did it to ruin his reputation, to spoil his ability to try and find work, and to mock him, and to take his work and turn it into a zombie, a half lifeless shell of something that is despised.
That's an expensive vendetta.
Yeah, no
I'm not.
kidding.
Yeah, it's an expensive vendetta.
Anything more to say about the specific projects that are in development?
I hope that they're good. I really honestly do. I hope that they're good. I hope that the development studios that they've brought in to help develop these has gotten a good enough contract that they can make the game that they feel does the best. And I really hope that that's the case. I hope that they're not filled with hatred towards a person because they were successful and people love them more than they loved a company. I really, really hope that's the case for all the people who really love these series, who truly love these series, who truly go out of their way to make these series work, to make this stuff function. I really hope, fingers crossed, hand on heart, that they get exactly what they want and what they deserve, because nobody deserves to watch a thing that they love burn because of somebody else's hatred.
Okay.
So fingers crossed.
On the topic of hoping for the future and positive things, let's talk about the Xbox and Bethesda Games Showcase. I guess it's just called the Xbox Games Showcase, but Bethesda.
Yeah, just the Xbox.
Well, Bethesda is definitely heavily highlighted.
It's new reference name as far as most like material that Microsoft is putting out is the Microsoft Bethesda Showcase.
Yeah. Okay. So.
And by the way,
they're really emphasizing that they own Bethesda's stuff. Yep.
By the way, I have it on very good authority that going forward, they will continue to name themselves the Bethesda, the Xbox Bethesda stuff. They really are keeping that Bethesda name in there because they believe that it is it's part of the deal, I think, that they worked out, but also part of honoring the fact that these people are still individuals. They can still create art as they see fit. And I have this on very good authority. After the merger with Activision, the name will not change.
They're not going to start calling it. They're not going to start calling it the Xbox Activision Showcase.
No, I have it on very good authority that a certain Activision does not deserve to share the name, despite the fact that they're a bigger acquisition. That we will not be seeing the word Activision tied to Blizzard very much in the future. That it will be one thing that is very quickly retired. Now, the Blizzard name, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Huh.
It's interesting, but we'll see.
All right.
That's what I'm hearing. Again, take it with a grain of salt.
I wouldn't doubt that at all. All right, what do we want to talk about the lineups and what we can expect to see? You sent me this article from Altcar.
Yes, but we talked about that, and I don't think it's good to name too many names as far as like content stuff like that, because we've been hearing more and more that every single studio has something for Microsoft to show. That I don't know how much of that means shippable products. Clearly, that's dropped by 2 in the last few days.
Oh yeah,
sadly.
Yes, I mean I doubt.
But
unfortunately, I mean I'm hoping at least one of the Bethesda studios has something that's going to be releasing, if not like the day of, shortly after.
Soon. Right.
That's a hope I have. We know it's of course not going to be Starfield or Redfall, which have been delayed into 2023 now, but we will likely see a lot of info about them at this showcase. But yes, there should be, if every Xbox studio is bringing something, I have to feel like something is going to be released like day of. They're going to give us something. I you know, like here, you can play this today. Have fun. I think that would garner a lot of goodwill, and it would just be really good if they did that.
It would be a nice change of pace.
And I just happened to scroll to where this article talks about Fable. So let's talk about Fable. So there was some concern this week. Let's put it at when this job listing for Playground Games, which is the studio that is developing Fable, said that it was looking for a senior rendering specialist to become a part of the team in the early stages of development, who will have a rare opportunity to shape the technology used to build a large-scale AAA title. And this was very concerning for a lot of people who read that as crap. You know, this game is not going to be out for 5 or 6 years yet because it's in early development. Now, in reality, Saib, you told me that the game's been in development since 2019, and that exact wording was used in 2019 when they were looking to hire somebody. And also,
so we don't know how long the game has been in active development. Nobody knows that. Nobody's come out to say that one way or the other. We know that it has been in development by at least 2019, if not sooner.
Right.
And that we know that at the very least, this ad was put, this ad was put out in 2019. When you take away the info that they're giving about the actual job, like the hiring for such and such a position, when you take that away, both texts are actually identical.
Yeah.
They are copy pasted.
So it looks like they just copied the text from like a 3-year-old job listing and pasted it in this new job listing. And they have since, probably due to the exposure, you know, the people talking about it, they've since changed this. They took out the part about it, you know, joining the team for the early stages of development. And it just, you know, so they took that part out. Probably very, you know, so basically the bottom line is no, we don't have to worry about this game. Just it's not like starting
most
this
likely
year.
Yes,
you know,
most likely. Now there of course there's a possibility that the game has been in early development for, you know, ever since 2018, and that the game continues to be in early development. That is also still a possibility, but I don't think that it's the logical possibility. I don't think it's the actual possibility that makes the most sense. I believe personally that the game is a lot further along than this indicates, because it is a copy and paste. We're probably looking at it entering its 4th year or even 5th year of development sometime soon, and that Playground is actually a competent game studio, has been for a long time, did not need to hire a ton of new people. Yes, they have made mostly just racing games beforehand, but racing games are not the only It's not like creating a racing game is not the same thing as playing with Play-Doh, as as a novice, and then comparing an RPG to the great works of Michelangelo. Eh, that nothing is further from the truth. There's a lot of racing games that require on very top tier talent in order to get out the door, and Playground's always made decent games, really good games, and by most people's perception, they've made amazing games. Could it be that most of their studio was already willing and happy to move over to the Fable game, and that they perhaps have been working on stuff for a very long time? I can tell you that I know several developers who work for major studios who moonlight on games that are nothing like what their company makes. And that's pretty normal, because if you like creating things and you're an artistic person, you have to have a constant outlet for that artistic level. And so, yeah, I would look at this. I would say there's nothing that we can glean from this on a precise level. We can look at both of these things and say, looks like we may or may not be getting a huge info dump about Fable, and it may or may not be coming out this year. It may be 2 years from now, maybe announced as the fall surprise that everybody seems to be having been hinted at for Microsoft has been hinting at, that there still is a surprise coming. We have, however, received some news that surprise for the showcase may actually just be a remake, or a remaster, rather, not a remake, a remaster of the Gears games. That would be a little disappointing. Not that the Gears games are terrible, but that if that's the big surprise as far as a AAA release this year, I think that's going to come off as a little weak. I think that's going to come off as a little weak, and I am genuinely worried about Xboxes generally, as far as like what it means for them for this year. Do I think they have a long-term winning strategy? I actually do. I think they've got a lot of really great games coming up, and I don't think that we've seen the last of the buyouts. And I think that there's a lot of better content on the way. I think that that we will see stuff, but am I convinced that we're going to see that this year? No. I'm generally getting worried that they may only have 1 or 2 releases this year as far as something major, and that the bulk of their games is going to be coming late next year, which would suck. That would suck a lot.
That would be unfortunate. Hopefully, if they can pull something really, 1 or 2 really good releases this year, I think that would at least get some momentum going. And if there's one thing that they need right now, I think that the people's enthusiasm in general for AAA games is just, it's in the garbage can right now. It's just tanked. The showcases over the past few years, what's been released, everything's been a huge disappointment. And I think if they want to start, even garnering some excitement for some of their releases that are coming next year, I think they've got to deliver something this year, in my opinion. They've got to deliver something of, the quality that people want and expect, that your core gamers want and expect. And if they don't do that, if it's just another disappointing showcase, that's really going to put a damper on, I think, anybody's enthusiasm for the upcoming Bethesda games and various things. Now, that I could just be kind of speaking for myself and not for anyone else, but that's a kind of the general impression that I get is everyone is saying, I'll believe it when I see it.
There's comments from Trauma in the chat here. Speaking of AAA, there was an economist who pointed out how financial dominance lasts for about 10 years, and many of these franchises have reached a 10-year peak.
Well, we are potentially seeing that with but it's been more than 10 years for Halo. but that I believe that if a franchise is constantly like readjusting itself, there are stars who were stars for their entire life.
Yes.
So I
And
wouldn't necessarily assume or go out on a limb and say, oh yeah, they're all doomed to die exactly at 10 years. There are some franchises that are in major trouble for sure, 100%. There are some companies out there that really need to start rethinking their internalized stupidity.
does one of them start with a B and end with a lizard?
There's a lot of companies that need to adjust immediately and apologize or do something. And again, we have some stuff starting to show up, starting to improve, starting to break new ground. We have that is on the list of things that is gradually changing, gradually improving, and starting to alter itself. And yeah, that's great. It's really great. But there's when something dies, it creates new space. So and unfortunately, maybe some things need to die so that people learn a lesson about trying to force something to do something.
There are a lot of publishers and
absolutely right, Trauma.
Big developers right now, big corporatized developers that I really think should. It would just be nice if they stepped aside for someone for fresh, newer, fresher creators. Honestly, in that space.
And I've said before too, that usually when a thing gets really, really big, it tends to run away on its own, right? And so, like, maybe it's kind of like the fate or like very typical of like large, I don't know, large companies, I guess we can say, where things will get derailed, whether it's by people leading or a certain percentage of a department or something. But that's just something we need to be mindful of.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, with that, we're going to wrap up the show for tonight. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. Those of you who joined us live, for the live recording on Discord, we really appreciate having you here, hearing your discussion in the live chat. Those of you listening when this goes live at the normal release time, appreciate all of you as well, whether you're listening on YouTube with the accompanying visuals or on the audio platforms. Really appreciate all of you. Find links to all of the Triple S League stuff in the description wherever you find this podcast. My name is Ash on behalf of Cybe and Moontag. Thanks so much for listening today. We'll be back here next week at this same time with another edition of the of the Augmented Reality Podcast on Triple S Podcasts. And of course, subscribe and listen for maximum news right here on this same YouTube channel this weekend. Thanks so much, everyone. We'll talk to you again very soon.